the Auburn Blitz Podcast, your direct source for all Auburn all the time with Brett Pritchard, Faith Richardson, and Randy Lee.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Auburn Blitz Podcast here on this Thursday morning. We're glad that you join us wherever it is that you're tuning us in and whenever it is that you tune us in. We appreciate it. We appreciate you making Auburn Blitz part of your Auburn daily intake. I'm Brett Pritchard, in case you've never watched this before. That's Randy Lee right there. And we'll be here with you this morning. Faith Richardson will be joining us a little bit later on. Randy, good to see you here on this Thursday. A ton that we want to dive into here this morning, but also I feel like every once in a while I got to give this disclaimer as you tune in. You can comment with us. We'd love to have the comments from all of you out there. Jonathan jumped the gun already before we got on, giving us a big War Eagle, and we appreciate you, Jonathan, as always, for watching. But Randy, there's no rest for the weary. Spring is extremely busy. A lot of big topics going on. A lot of big things that we're doing here on the Auburn Blitz. Good to see you this morning.
Well, glad to be here, and I'm with you on Tuesday and Thursday, so a lot of the topics that you hit on, I've yet to have a chance to talk about, so if we repeat a lot of things that have already been brought up throughout the week, that's what we're going to do.
No
when
problem.
I get on here, I'm not going to listen to really where Brett wants to go with it. I'm going to have a topic in mind that I want to go with, and that's what we're going to do, Brett. That's how you and I kind of roll with this. So my topic that I want to hit on today, and you sent me a little text over, but I've been seeing this topic and talking about this topic for about a year, and that's the president making the decision that he's going to look to put a commission together to look into NIL, transfer portal, college athletics as a whole, and we've been screaming for it for a long, long time, and if you get the right leader in place, you can make some immediate changes, in my opinion.
100%. There's a couple of different angles on this thing, and we're going to talk about it. On3 had an article that came out, so just kind of diving into that. Basically said that President Trump plans to create a commission on college sports, and this is not some breaking news. Obviously, this has been needed for a while. The NCAA has pretty much been rendered powerless. And Donald Trump's leaning heavily on Nick Saban right now. And, there's an attorney in the article that came out and rightfully so, because he's representing players. And he's being very critical of the government involvement in this thing. And he's also being critical of Nick Saban. And I can see that side too a little bit. Basically his argument is, now he wants to come in the 12th hour and police something that made him tens of millions of dollars, and he was able to take advantage of the system, the way it was prior to the things coming in. We can go down that path too, but the bottom line is on this is that at some point in time, somebody's got to step up and do something. We don't like a lot of government involvement, Randy. You and I have said that from day one on anything we do. We feel like the more the government has its hands in things, the worse things get, a la Doge uncovering the unbelievable waste and fraud that's been going on in this country for God knows how long. But it's at some point in time, you got to put your foot down, and you got to either can say, we're not going to go down this path anymore, and it's going to be painful for some people, and they're just going to have to suck it up and figure it out. Or we can just run it on off the cliff. And that's really the two options. We can continue to go down this path and just run it slap off the cliff, and we all turn around in a few years and go, well, I don't know what happened to the sport we loved. Or we can try to figure out a way to regulate it and make everybody happy. Now, is it going to be the Wild West where you just go out there and negotiate whatever the hell you want and get whatever the hell you want whenever you want it? Probably not. That's not how the real world works out here. Can you still make a good living, and can you still get paid for your value? Yeah, you sure can. But we got to figure out how to do all that.
Well, and that's the reason that I'm glad that the communication has started, because the problem is if you lose every battle when you go into the court system, then at some point, if you're the NCAA, you just put your hands up in the air and say, look, there's not much I can do. what would you like for me to do? Because anytime somebody comes and sues us, they win. So any regulation that we put out there is going to have to come down with a mandate from the federal government or state governments, which is, that's the crazy part, is each state has different rules than the opposing state that you may be competing against. And we've complained nonstop about that, from, lotteries being in all the surrounding states around us, and how that has impacted college baseball, especially with the limitations on scholarships, and how all the surrounding states have been able to use their Hope scholarships. Let's just use one, to go out there and supplement some players and be able to bring some in that, say, Auburn and Alabama haven't. That's a little bit different, but it's much the same, Brett. There needs to be regulations in these sports. I'm all about the players making money. Look, I'll be the first one.
I think we've all said that.
And I'm all about the ones that deserve more of the pot to get more of the pot. Look, I'm a capitalist at heart, 1,000%. Cam Newton in 2010 deserved 10 times more money than the second best player on that team deserved that year. Anybody that doesn't believe that is just not watching the same sport that I am. But so please don't take it that I don't want players to get theirs. I want them to get theirs, but I want them to continue to get theirs. And I don't want sports to be lost that aren't profit generating sports because there is no regulation. And I think that you and I have daughters. My daughter loves sports more than my son loves sports. And I know that a lot of you that are fathers and mothers out there have daughters that are just like mine, that you want to give them opportunities. Well, I'm very, very concerned, Brett, that if we stay down this path and Title IX continues to become a non-existent conversation when it comes into NIL and transfer portal and all that's going on with college athletics, that there are going to be some innocent bystanders that are going to be sitting on the sideline going, what the hell happened? We had this thing in a pretty good position. And I'm sticking with the women here as a man. And the women were getting a fair shake and a fair amount of the money, even though they weren't profit generating, which it's crazy to think that two conservatives that are on here are fighting for a liberal stance back in the 70s. I mean, that's how much we flipped overall in this government. It's a wild, wild time, but I applaud, first off, Donald Trump coming and giving a commencement speech, which gives him an opportunity to be around Nick Saban, which I know they've been around each other before. And Auburn fans can like or dislike it, but I got a lot of confidence in his leadership. And I think that
Tommy Tuberville's heavily involved in this too.
He's the one that's on the back end, that whatever's decided within this commission can actually make something happen, because he's going to be the figurehead in the Senate that actually pushes.
Maybe.
Well, that means he could be the governor, but for the time being, he's going to be there. And I promise it's going to happen before that changeover happens. So he'll be able to set some legislation up that hopefully gets passed. None of us have a good answer. I just think all of us realize that the current system's not going to sustain itself for the long term.
What is this commission going to do? They're going to look into a lot of things. Number one, the frequency of player movement in the transfer portal is unhealthy. I don't care what you say. I don't care whose side you're on. This jumping around every 8-9 months for some of these guys, you are not doing yourself any favors, and we're not teaching them anything by letting them do that. We're just picking. Is that what happens in the job world? You go there for a few months. No, I'm just going to hop over here. And just how do you ever get grounded and learn how to have any perseverance? Every day is different. Some days are better than others, and you got to learn to fight through some of the challenges. And every time you get faced with a challenge, if you take your ball and run somewhere else, you're not learning how to deal with life, man.
Well, let me jump in on a topic that never gets brought up when we're discussing this. You're talking about athletics. Where the hell does academics fall into the conversation now? Are you telling me somebody that transfers 5 or 6 times is giving themselves a really good chance to end up with a degree and a good academic outcome for their college time? I'd be willing to bet no. And who's the last player that you heard couldn't play because of grades?
How many times have I brought this up?
I mean, so academics, which are still very important if you're going to really hold this under any kind of college system. I know that this is becoming almost a professional sport with the amount of money that's being thrown around, but it still is supplemented by the federal government under an academic policy, Brett. And how in the world are you going to continue with a straight face to do that if you don't clean this up enough? And I think the transfer portal that you bring up is a number one. And I love your idea better than any that I've heard. I'm all about when you sign to a university, you sign with them for 2 years. And the university has to cut a deal with you, and you put that pen to paper. You're with them for 2 years. You've got to play under that structure that you've gotten going in. And then after 2 years, if you want to transfer out to your nearest school's rival at the highest amount of money than you can get, I'm a capitalist at heart. Go get it. Not much different than what we see in the NFL, NBA, MLB. You know, you play under that rookie contract, and then when you get a chance to move on, that's when you get that big payday. I think that we're nearing that in college, and I like your idea with that because it at least gives you 2 years, gives you time to get your feet settled and let everybody, learn a little bit, get academically inclined to being in college and have to prove yourself there. I just like the idea.
Randy, how many times in life in our early years did we want to act on a knee-jerk reaction? And again, you said it a few weeks ago, you're not sure you made very many good decisions, maybe none at all at 20, 21, 22 years old. I mean, and you're expecting 18, 19, 20-year-olds to have it all together and to know how to make the best decision for them long term in the moment when people are throwing hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars at them. I mean, come on, man. I mean, that's the thing that we're talking about here. And going back to what you said and kind of conforming to how many times have people in the past gone, man, I sure am glad I didn't do what I wanted to do back then. That I actually had somebody telling me, just wait, just be patient. It's going to work out. And then they come back and go, man, if I'd have jumped ship, man, I'd have ruined my life, or I'd have done this, or I'm so glad I stayed the course. I'm not saying everybody has that situation. Sometimes you need to leave a situation, right? But if you don't give something a fighting chance, how many times and I know college football is structured differently now than it was when you and I grew up, but how many guys waited their turn and actually it actually worked out for them? And it was really, really good that they did that. Maybe if they had hopped around and done some things that are in place right now, they never would have ever had a chance to be stable enough to show what they could do. So I know there's different ways of looking at this thing, but we're putting all of the decision-making on the backs of 18, 19, and 20-year-olds and hoping they have somebody in their corner that's leading them in the right direction. Nico Imialiava, everybody's been talking about that. Said, who's been chirping in his ear that made him make that decision? I don't really think the kid wanted to leave Tennessee. I truly don't. I think some people in his camp built him up and said, look, man, you can go get more. You can go get more. You can go get more. And then you see what happened. So I think it's all about the people that you got around you too. That's a massive play in the decisions that are being made.
Well, hopefully we get somewhere with this. If you get the right leader in place that can take a stand, and what I've said the last couple of years is it doesn't need to be 20, 30 different things that are in demand. No, just if it's Nick Saban that's at the lead, we've been asking for that. And I think it's the right decision to have somebody that is an elephant in the room to be in there. And I know that's
a good
maybe
pun.
not.
Yeah, no pun.
But you know what I mean? I mean, at some point you've got to have somebody with a little name luster to go in there and say, look, I trust this guy. I trust his leadership ability, and don't ask for 2025. Let's just call it 5 things. Here's 5 things like your 2 years. Sign a contract right out of high school for 2 years, and then you can go and transfer with the school and you not hurting any. And then you know that you've got that stand moving forward. Just maybe 5 things like that, and not an unlimited amount of transfers. I don't think that that's good for anybody to have 5 or 6, 7 different transfers, which is wild in a college career. So I mean, look at TJ Finley. How many different schools has he been to?
6.
It's asinine that
Does
is
he even
allowed.
know where he is?
Well, I mean, I'm
seriously.
all for it. I mean, he's not a professional athlete. If he can go get another payday, go get it. I'm not knocking him for it by no means, but we need some leadership here, and we need some leverage on the back end from the federal government that they're not going to lose every single battle in the court system that they go and fight for, and maybe we can get to some kind of playing field, at least where you know the rules.
Yep. Here are the major topics that need to be handled and discussed by this commission. Obviously, the transfer portal, unregulated booster compensation, which has been going on for 70 years. I mean, it needs to be. I mean, you got to figure it out, and there needs to be punishment. That's why we are where we are, because we were like, everybody knows this has been going on for years. Now we wanted it out in the open where it's the Wild West. And so everybody's like, well, now I wish kind of get back to the days of the unregulated boosters, because at least they had to sneak around and hide it, and it wasn't so open, and you didn't have this market where people were just openly trying to steal your players. How do you handle them as employees? Because they are employees. Let's quit trying to skirt the issue here. You're paying them. They're an employee. And then how do you apply Title IX to revenue share? You just brought that up. Do we just crumble that up and throw it away like it never existed and say, well, we do live in a capitalistic society. Hey, that sport doesn't bring anything in. They don't deserve anything. That's the argument that, just like you said with the players, Randy, Cam Newton absolutely deserved way more money than anybody else on that team, maybe outside of Nick Fairley on the defensive side. Maybe he's the second best player, Cam Newton. Well, the critics out there could fire back at us and say, well, what about sports? What about the sports that bring in all the money? Why should they share their money with the sports that don't bring anything in? So, look, you're going to get arguments from both sides, and you're going to get, you're going to get people that are trying to hold to their stance on that. Also, how do the conferences break down? All the TV contracts, all the stuff that goes into that. I mean, these are all topics that have been just let go out here in the wild with no regulation at all. So, yes, somebody's got to establish some type of authority and bring this in and figure out how, if it needs to go to the Supreme Court have to rule on it and make it to where every time somebody tries to change something, you just don't go sue somebody in court and win a battle and render the organization powerless. Then do it. I'm all for it.
Needs a leader. Needs somebody we all can get behind, and it doesn't need a lot more talk. It needs somebody to actually step up and be able to hold a little ground whenever they're getting pushed back. So I like the Nick Saban pick. I think he's the right person for the job. I'm an Auburn fan sitting here saying that, and I'm hoping that it gets straightened out. Quarterback one, let me give my real quick take on that before I step away. I know it was a topic that you and Faith are going to hit on as Faith jumps in. Jackson Arnold named the starter yesterday. Heading into fall, I'm all for it if that's the decision that's made. Hugh Freeze is the one that's got to live with these decisions. He's the one that's done a good enough job to go in there and make this quarterback room up to a standard that I think can take Auburn to the next level. If you look into recruiting rankings, both for Jackson Arnold and Deuce Knight in high school, practically everybody wanted them. Now, can you develop one or the other? Jackson Arnold looks to be the one that's decided on right now. I'll keep my stance on. I'm not questioning the athleticism, what everybody saw with Jackson Arnold in high school. We'll just have to see if that confidence level that he had then, that he clearly didn't have the entire time that he was at Oklahoma, can pop back up and be the reason that he takes his game to the next level at Auburn. I have no reason to not think that that's the case. Hugh Freeze got a lot of confidence in that, so I'll stick with it. But for my eyes, Deuce Knight's ceiling's higher. Maybe I'm wrong by saying that, but
is it okay for his ceiling to be higher, but Jackson Arnold to be the starter right now? I mean, I think that's a
maybe
fair.
we'll see.
I think that's a fair statement.
We'll see how he plays. You got to live with the decisions you make. My eyes saw the same as yours did in the spring. You were at a lot of those practices. The texts you had coming over from me were, oh my, this throw Deuce Knight just made. Oh my, these receivers and Deuce Knight out there. I mean, that was a lot of the text thread that you had coming over. It wasn't you were knocking Jackson Arnold, it's just you were blown away by the athleticism and the arm talent of Deuce Knight in some of those scrimmages. So at least we've got the option. That's been the biggest problem for Auburn, is not having that secondary option that you can point to and say, if this doesn't work out, I think we've got somebody in the wing that may be special sitting over there. So, and that's all a benefit of having great coaches out there recruiting, like Hugh Freeze and like Derek Nix and the others that have really put together a good squad. So I'm all for it. I'm hoping that it all plays out. I'll step aside, Brett. I know we got a lot of great partners out there, but if you're in the Auburn market, stop by and see us at Lee Apparel or Sign Source. We're at 1850 Opelika Road. Stop in. You can have promotional products, corporate apparel, school wear, high school, all the way up on our Lee Apparel side, and then signage from start to finish, from design to installation. 256-825-0197. I'll be tuning into y'all.
All right, buddy.
Hi, Randy.
All right. Welcome in, Faith. Good morning. How are you?
Hey, good morning.
I'll let you give your take here in just a minute on what we were talking about prior to you jumping on board, because, I mean, obviously it's a massive topic. And then I want your take on QB1. It's what you and I had talked about for about a week or so, kind of what we felt like was coming. And then obviously key pieces around this team, and what does Auburn need to improve on to get to an 8 or 9 win mark. I mean, we can talk about players till we're blue in the face, but what do they need to improve on from last year to this year? Right out of the gate,
Cincy Green, for air that's cool and clean. Call on Cincy Green. They are the carrier dealers for the state of Alabama and proud supporter of Auburn athletics and the Auburn Blitz podcast. It is hot, hot, hot and humid. So making sure that you're getting a new carrier unit installed by Cincy Green before everybody else is going to need that. Cincy Green is going to save you thousands of dollars. And we love them over there. They're people that you can trust, and just great guys over there.
Scout Program Management, a full service construction management firm that will take you from the pre-construction planning phase all the way to the finished product when you get the keys to your facility. And when you're spending millions of dollars, you want to make sure it's done right. You want to have to come in there and clean up a bunch of mess that was done incorrectly. So Scout Program Management will hold the contractors accountable, make sure things are done the right way, the way you expect them to be done, take the worry off of you. Make sure you call Scout Program Management. They have got a ton of huge projects going on all over this state. So make sure you call on the experts, call on Scout Program Management.
Bunkers is what everybody knows, one of our favorite places to go. Also, not just to eat, but for just the experience that you're going to get there. They've got the golf simulator bays that literally have 27 different sports. So you don't just have to play golf. And this weekend is going to be pretty nasty weather. And so graduation is also this weekend. So there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be there and just going and hanging out, having a drink. You don't even have to play golf, but they've got literally every TV in there has a different game on. So you can just chill, watch sports if you're trying to get away from all your kids and their friends during graduation week. Just take over to Bunkers.
Better reserve that booth early.
Yeah.
We rolled up in there Saturday, thought, oh, we'll just go in here, and they didn't have any. So it was okay because we may do at the bar, but you sacrifice. Sometimes you have to come up with plan B. But if you want to have a bay to yourself, you need to go ahead and call ahead and get that thing reserved for this weekend. Like Faith said, there's going to be a lot of people in town. So you don't want to roll in there and they go, I'm sorry, we're booked up. All right. Your thoughts on the before we dive into the quarterback talk and then the key pieces around him, and this Auburn team to make them take that next step up. I mean, I don't think we're surprised, are we?
No, I don't think that we're surprised, but I do think it is early. But I mean, like I said yesterday, he's one play away from Deuce coming in, but it's good to know that Deuce on the bench, I guess, right now he's not somebody that we're terrified if he has to go in or
Not at
if
all.
Jackson Arnold goes down or something. And I think that's something that Auburn fans should be more content with, because we've had those times where, if our starter goes down, we don't have any confidence in who's
We didn't
behind
have
him.
anybody last year. I mean, that's
So
the whole reason when Peyton Thorne, the Peyton Thorne project didn't work out. I mean, who did you go to? You tried Hank Brown, but you knew he wasn't good enough. And Holden Gardner couldn't get off the bench. So Auburn didn't have any options. So it was an all your chips into the middle of the table move by Hugh Freeze. What are the benefits of going ahead and naming a starter? There's some benefits to this. Number one, everybody knows who the guy is. You know, it's like, okay, this guy is the quarterback. The receivers kind of have already prepped themselves mentally going into the offseason, you know, going into the fall camp, those kind of things. There's some positive to an early announcement too.
I think too, it takes off a lot of the pressure of the buildup from the quarterback battle that is, okay, who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? And then when the day comes of the announcement right before the game or, leading up to it, it's a big sigh of relief from Jackson Arnold right now of, okay, they know they have time to get behind and support me, or, versus if it was right before, it's, dang, a lot of us want to Deuce night. Like, we hope that you screw up and Deuce comes in. Not saying that people would do that, but I think it's a sense of relief for him that he doesn't have as much pressure on him from Auburn, because we've seen what Auburn has done to some of our other quarterbacks.
Frankly, I'm tired of it coming down to the week of. I mean, how many times have we discussed over the last 5 to 7 years, well, who's going to be the quarterback? We're going to take this thing right up until the first game of the season or name somebody a couple weeks out. I'm fine with going ahead and saying, look, I've seen enough. Yes, we got 2 great, talented quarterbacks, but go ahead and make a decision. I mean, and Jackson Arnold is what Hugh Freeze decided to do. And he decided to go ahead and make that call. And like Randy just said, you got to trust the coach. I mean, last year, let's just be honest about it. The Peyton Thorne thing was a thorn, no pun intended, in all of our sides, because we all felt like Auburn should have gone out in the portal and got somebody else to at least have, we could say Cam Ward, and people out there saying, well, he never was going to come. Yeah, that's not the case. Okay. Could have gotten Cam Ward here. Miami and Auburn were so identical in the fact that, they were one quarterback away. The offensive production went way up for Miami. The thing is Auburn had a better defense than Miami.
There's no doubt.
And Miami lost a lot of games because they couldn't stop anybody. Cam Ward would go in there and put up great numbers, but the defense would, they just couldn't stop people when they needed to stop people. So, all right, so the quarterback is obviously the biggest piece. All right, so key pieces around not just Jackson Arnold, but this team as a whole. And, you and I kind of talked, off the air about some of these guys, and PFF, which is PFF College, which they do a lot of different rankings and a lot of different analysis on college football teams. They have 4 guys ranked pretty highly at their position. And so when you're looking at this roster and you're talking about, who's going to make plays or who's going to be the guys to do stuff. Well, one of them's Eric Singleton, who Auburn went out and got out of the portal, who was probably the number one receiver in the portal. So they go out and add Eric Singleton from Georgia Tech to an already loaded wide receiver room. He kind of took the place of KLS. KLS exits. Eric Singleton comes in. You and I were blown away, literally, by Eric Singleton. I'm glad your hair was in place because he could have blown it off as he went by you on one of those plays, like literally. So you bring him in, and Cam Coleman. We all know everybody's expecting him to have a phenomenal season coming off last year as one of the top freshmen in the country. So just stop there for a second. The wide receiver room is loaded. We've talked about it a million times. So your playmakers are there. So Jackson Arnold getting the ball out of his hand in a timely manner to get it to these guys. And we're not going to go back through the whole wide receiver room again because we've done that 100 times. But these two are two of the higher rated guys in the country. Get the ball to your playmakers, let them make plays.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think last year we were able to see some of that, even though we didn't have some of the other key players that we needed. Like we didn't have a quarterback that was I don't want to say as good as we do now, but
I will.
Okay. So yeah, I think that does make just a huge impact though of the talent and what they're going to be able to do in general.
Because the running game is unknown. You look at Jacquez Hunter being the top running back in the conference last year. Now he's out. So you're going to be running back by committee. Damari Alston will be the first guy up, but then Jeremiah Cobb and the rest of that group, Darrell Robinson, Alvin Henderson, how much time does he get as a true freshman? I don't know. So you're not going to be leaning on that running game probably as much as you're trying to get the ball in these receivers' hands. Now you can design plays that are just like runs, quick screens, plays out on the edge, swing passes that basically are nothing more than a sweep where guys have got to get outside and block, and it's a one-on-one battle. So running games can look different. Right? So we know the receivers are going to be the key targets. No pun intended. Connor Lew, the number 5 interior offensive line, according to PFF. We know what kind of player we have there. And Faith, we talked about it a couple weeks ago. The offensive line group's the most experienced group on this team. It's time to put the excuses away and actually get it done. So I know we don't have the running back in a Jarquez Hunter that we've had in the past, a bunch of guys that are unproven right now. But you have an offensive line. If your passing game is what it is, they're going to be able to open up some holes for our running game. I know sometimes it's like you got to run to open up the pass. Well, you can do the opposite. You can pass to open up the run. And obviously the strength of this team is going to be the passing game, but this running game could be a hidden gem with this offensive line being as experienced as it is.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is you can't have the quarterback operate without a good offensive line. And we've seen how much our offensive line has struggled. And again, this, like what you just said, and we talked about last week or whatever, that this is the most experienced group on the team. There's no excuses for them to fall apart and not be able to, I think, literally take control over what's happening on the field while they're there. There's literally no reason that they shouldn't be able to.
No, I'm with you there. And then the final player there listed as a top player in the country is Keldrick Faulk. I mean,
I think we knew he was going to be.
He's the best player on the team.
Yeah.
I mean,
Keldrick is, we've got to, it's not that he's unhealthy, but we've got to keep him healthy. We saw that he was a little banged up in the spring. So, keeping him healthy is going to be a really important, thing for all of us. But he's himself, I don't know how many times I heard his name get called each game.
Well, you're going to hear it called a lot more. There's going to be some guys. So those are key pieces. We know the key pieces. There's also some guys that aren't on this list that we know we've got high expectations for. Malcolm Simmons, maybe a Morris Williams this year. That's going to be right there. We heard him in spring practice talk about how much he's improved and, learned from Keldrick Falk. Our secondary, Jay Crawford. I can go down this whole list again. I don't want to sound redundant, but there are key pieces all over this team. But I think the keyest piece is QB1, and that's Jackson Arnold. And whatever role Deuce Knight's going to play, Deuce Knight is going to play a role in this team. And as you just mentioned a minute ago, I think the comfort is that we know we've got a really, really solid number 2 guy that could easily be number 1 for a lot of teams. But we've got 2 great options in our quarterback room, which is rare in this day and age of college football. And so I don't know how it's going to look in December, everybody. It's like, well, what is Deuce Knight going to do? How is he going to – you cannot worry about what's going to happen in December or January here in May. You got to make a decision. You got to do the best that you feel like you can for your team in this moment and let things kind of play out. I mean, I've already told everybody, Faith, you and I have had this discussion, somebody won't be in this room next year. I mean, look, we had a completely different quarterback room now. It's none of these guys were even here last year. So, yeah, what is it going to look like next year? I don't know, but let's worry about this team right now and how that plays out. And then whatever happens, let those decisions be made. I mean, do you think Bruce Pearl was worried about what may look like for him back in December? I mean, if Tahad Pettiford somehow doesn't come back to this team, they've got a completely different – there ain't a single player really left on last year's team on this coming up year's team. But he can't worry about all that at the time. He can't worry about, well, is Tahad coming back? Is Ja'Kai going to come back? What about this? And Chad Baker-Mazar and all that. He had to coach and prepare in the moment. And then he had to mentally go, I'll just have to deal with it when the season's over. And he has.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you nailed that.
Buckle your seatbelt.
So,
all right. So what does Auburn have to improve on? Turnovers. I was going back through and looking at some stats. We were -9 in the turnover category. We had 9 fumbles lost and 13 interceptions last year. Now, granted, 8 of those 13 interceptions came in 2 games. All right, so when you take the Cal game out and the Arkansas game out, which you know how I feel about both of those games, if you take those 2 games out, I mean, I only threw 5 picks the rest of the year. And 2 picks came against Alabama. So now, really, what do you have? 10 of your 13 picks came in 3 games? And, of course, you know what the result was. They were all L's. But we also fumbled the ball a good bit. What did we do about, obviously 9, we're -9, so we recovered 5 fumbles on defense and had 8 interceptions. Now, the 8 interceptions, Arkansas, we got 2 of those back. That obviously we threw 4, they threw 2, and then we picked 2 of Kentucky's passes off, and then we had a pick in the Alabama and the Texas A&M game. We had a couple picks against New Mexico, but this was a young secondary that is going to be even better. So I'm expecting like this category, Faith, absolutely has to turn around.
It has to, and I think that's too when Damari Alston he tweeted something out and he was saying how he's gonna be better and everything. He had some of those fumbles, and we talked about it, last week, I think. He was not able to go down holding the ball and being secure with it, and with Jarquez being gone and Damari Alston is gonna be the starting running back, he cannot afford to make any of those mistakes this year at all.
No, not it. And again, when you're minus, numbers matter in sports. And most of the time, you can see the direct correlation to success or non-success in the numbers. And when you're -9 in the turnover category, without looking at the record, you're going to go, that team probably didn't do very well. And Auburn didn't do very well. So I don't know. I didn't go back and look at 23. I can do that real quick and see what the turnover. We're a lot better in 23 than we were in 24. I mean, we were -2, but we were still in negative numbers. 22, we were -9. I mean, you're looking at 4 years of losing records. We broke even in 21. 2020, we were +4. That was a weird year. But you have to go all the way back to 2020 to find a year where we were positive in the turnover category. And we all know how important that. I mean, those are possessions lost. So
Right.
we lost 9 possessions in a season, due to turnovers. You lost more than that, but you're using the plus minus ratio of how many your defense were able to gain for you too. So Jim said Perry Thompson needs to step up, or with Singleton, Simmons, Fields, he may find himself the same amount of playing time as last year. I mean, he's the X factor here that we're all talking about, Faith. It's like we've been talking about, does he move to tight end some and line up in that position because we're thin there? I mean, Brandon Frazier is going to be the starter. We've had somebody transfer out of that room, but just to get him on the field a little bit more, put him in a position that'll get him on the field more. Can he be good enough at that position, maybe blocking or whatever, to warrant him moving there? I mean, or is he fighting to get on the field with these other guys? I mean, I don't know the answer at this point.
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, we saw some of him during spring, but again, it wasn't.
Now, the spring game, if you want to call it a game, he probably was the shining star, but, there were some, maybe not him going against one-on-ones and some of that stuff. But again, he did make plays. He looked better. His confidence was better. But I mean, you and I didn't see much in the spring practices that we were at.
I wasn't at the spring game, but at practices, we just didn't see that much of him. We were just more blown away with the other guys. And I think everybody kind of knew that with the way we were talking about, Eric Singleton, Malcolm.
What about Sam Turner? I think he turned more heads.
Sam Turner, Horatio. Yeah. I agree. I think he needs to step it up, or
competition's competition, man. And this is one of the best wide receiver rooms in the entire country. So it's gonna be fun to watch. I'll say that. It's not like we're looking around trying to figure out who's going to be on the field. I mean, the reason you're looking around trying to figure out who's going to be on the field is because you got so much talent.
We have so much talent there.
Who's going to get majority of the snaps, and whose snaps are going to go up, whose snaps are going to go down.
I think too, something I'm interested in to see is, I remember that there was a lot of miscommunication with the route running by the wide receivers in Peyton last year. And I very specifically remember Cam having run a completely wrong route, and everybody was like, what is he doing? What's Peyton doing? What just happened or whatever? And I really just think the communication between the receivers and the quarterbacks just wasn't as good as it needed to be
Right.
for them to really for the wide receivers to really show their talent the way they can, and I'm hoping that this year that the communication and, just the gel between them is gonna be a lot better so that everybody can perform a lot better. Does
You're
that make sense?
No, it makes outstanding sense, because that was one of the next things I was gonna bring up. It is all about being on the same page. Like,
Right.
how many drives did stalled out, or whatever, ended in us punting or turnover on downs because somebody wasn't on the same page. And again, when the quarterback makes a throw and the receiver breaks in and he throws out, most of the time everybody's blaming the quarterback. They're going, "What is he
Right.
doing?" Or what, but you don't know. I mean, again, we had a young group of receivers, and there were times early in the season. I remember Cam dropping some passes to extend drives in a couple of those games we lost, and you never know if you make those catches and keep the chains moving, what the outcome could be. And again,
Right.
it's a two-way street here, so it's not all on the quarterback. But um, there was some talk, and I believe Cole Kubelik said this about the quarterback decision, and he said I don't want to hear about Jackson Arnold's arm strength or his running ability that much. What's going to make me feel better is I need to know he's smooth and comfortable with having the reins and the communication part. Does he know the offense and is everybody on the same page?
Yep.
Exactly what you just said. And he said that he's asked numerous people inside, and they have all given a resounding yes. So maybe that is why Hugh Freeze went ahead and pulled the trigger and said, Jackson Arnold's our guy. He has this offense. This offense is simple to him right now. Yes, he's been in college for 2 years, so he has the experience. Deuce Knight may be, like Randy said, it's what my point was with him. I think he had an accurate statement both ways. I definitely think Deuce Knight's ceiling's way higher than Jackson Arnold. But is he better prepared to take on this offense right now? That would probably – I would say probably no, because of the decision that Hugh Freeze made. So he's going
Right.
with the more experienced guy that he's more comfortable with knowing this offense.
Yeah, I really just think that the communication part of it all is just really one of the most important things. Um, and if your quarterback and your receivers aren't on the same page, the miscommunication is going to be it doesn't matter the talent that you have, but the miscommunication between all of that is going to show so bad. And
I think that's the point, Faith. I think that's nail on head, that it's really not about, the talent's there in all the areas. It's just a matter of who's got the grasp and who's on the same page, and execution. The execution part of it. It's not a question of do we have the talent to be able to make the plays. It's the communication side. So, all right, some more of our partners here on the program. Can't do the program without them. Sure Shot.
Sure Shot, just up to 80. Firearm apparel and hunting needs. They sell and trade new and used firearms. Scott is awesome, and he's going to be able to help you with whatever it is that you need when it comes to anything hunting. And turkey season ended today here in Alabama, so I'm sure they're about to have some pretty good deals that are about to happen. So calling them 256-329-0080.
Great people there. And right here,
Oliver Ross. Your parties from 20 up to 20,000 people, whether it's a work convention, sorority, or fraternity day parties. I know people are starting to put that on their calendars. So calling on Oliver Ross, make sure that you are able to go ahead and get them. I know they're going to get super, super busy. They are certified and licensed bartenders. So just focus on the actual event and the entertainment, because they're going to be able to take care of the bartending part of it all.
No doubt about it. Love Oliver Ross, and they will take care of you there as well. Okay, we'll get a couple more of our partners here in just a minute. So looking at that part of it for Auburn football, we're confident in the roster. It really boils down to, and we're going to talk about this a million more times between now and the start of the season. Can you execute? Can Auburn execute? That's what it's going to boil down to. And we'll see. Only time will tell that. And in this day and age of the transfer portal and new guys, how quickly we see this in basketball all the time, but how fast can everybody get on the same page and harness this talent that we have in all in the right direction? All right, final thing we'll talk about, again, recruiting. It wasn't breaking news for us yesterday, although Hayes Fawcett pushed the graphic out. And I know the kids love the graphics and stuff and all, but man, I'm just going to tell everybody once again, he broke the news with you, Faith, on the interview, and you pushed the reel out, and boy, has that thing exploded. My phone, I think my phone caught on fire last night with all the people sharing the reel and adding. I mean, we jumped up on our Instagram followers tremendously last night. I mean, sitting down with Sadarian Morgan, you pushed out, a reel on that. We want to encourage everybody to go to our YouTube page and check out that full interview. But Sadarian's a great guy. He announced with you in that interview, you used to ask him point blank, when are you going to announce? He said July 2nd. And then we had people coming up to us ever since then going, didn't he say on y'all's interview that did I hear July 2nd? Nobody knows that. I'm like, yeah, we've been knowing that. Where y'all been? So good job on that, Faith. You broke that, by the way.
Thanks. I guess that's the first thing I've broke. Yeah,
And
no, that
something
was
good to break, not a leg, not an arm, something like that.
Yeah.
A good story to break. Yeah, absolutely.
Story. Yeah, no, he's got his official visits coming up, and July 2nd is going to be when he announces everything, or not everything, when he announces his commitment. So we're going to be watching out with that.
That's on July the 2nd. We got a busy day that day. Good
I was
Lord.
going to say, is he going to be at Ben Russell for that?
He's going to be at Ben Russell for that. So, we've got
an on location that day. So
and the Auburn Ambush event, the Auburn Lake Martin Ambush events that day too, that afternoon or that night. So I mean, it's going to be. Already talked about days in July, and we're sitting here on May the 8th. But yeah, that's a big day all the way around. We're all keeping our fingers crossed here, and I have people text me daily. All right, where's he going? Well, I know you know. I'm like, I don't. I really, and he's keeping that between him and his family, and you gotta appreciate that.
But he also has to go through these official visits. I think that's something. Right. If you watch the reel or if you watch the actual video, he talks about how important the communication and the relationships are. So I think him going and actually visiting these schools are going to be super, super important for him.
That's right. Justin said that'd be huge to get him in Alex City before the ambush event that day. Yeah, it'd be great if he announced Auburn
in Alex City for that. Then we'll be at Stillwaters.
That's right.
Then we'll be at the ambush event.
At Willow Point. So we're going to be covering. We'll be covering the county pretty well that day. So, but yeah, would love to have him just come on down to the Auburn Ambush event as a newly committed Auburn Tiger. So he'd get a rousing ovation for sure. But again, so yeah, go check that video out. Really, really good interview. You got another really good one coming out tomorrow with Tank Jones, the number 2 player in the state of Alabama from St. Paul. So make sure, we will be driving the lake. Might just jump the boat. Might be easier to just cross the lake. Can we start an Uber Lake service here, I think that thing would take off. By the way, that's another. Do I need
I
another
feel like they
business?
have that.
Do we need another business idea? I'm sure
No,
they do, but
no, we don't.
we don't have time to be picking everybody up, driving them places. We need somebody doing that for us. We need to be hiring somebody to do that. All the stuff that we got going on in places. So yeah, getting the rest of the top 10 scheduled right now. We worked on that yesterday. So we'll be giving everybody some insight on to when some of those interviews will be coming together for the rest of the top 10 according to 24/7. So, all right. A couple more of our partners here on the program, Faith, just great people.
Yeah, Old Number One Customs. Don't DIY it for 2 years. Get it done in 2 weeks with Old Number One Customs. Whether it's your kitchen, your bathroom, they're going to be able to go in there and fully renovate it for you at a good price too. So make sure you call on them. They're really helpful, and also just good people.
I was checking out their Instagram page last night, man. Just really awesome. I mean, just again, go check that out too. We want to encourage not only for you to go check out our Instagram page, but our sponsors as well and our partners. And if you go check out Old Number One Customs, man, they are sharp. I mean, really good work. You can see examples of what they're doing and the quality of what they do. 334-752-6162.
JFA Blue Plumbing. It's an easy. Sorry, somebody commented and said Clemson. There's a lot of people commenting where they want him to go.
Yeah, that's fine. That's okay.
But you can't put a price on your health. Seriously, JFA is going to be able to install a home Atlas water filter duo, and it's going to make sure every single pipe or faucet in your house.
Pipes are important too. So
yes, but it's going to have filtered water coming out of it. And so you can't put a price on health, whether it's your family, your dog, your cat, maybe anything is that it needs filtered water. Your showers, everything. So 844 JFA Blue.
Yeah, JFA Blue Plumbing to come in and install that for $15.99 out the door. I mean, there's no price that you can place on having clean water to drink for all of you in the house. So go get that done. Don't wait any longer. Call them now. I'm just looking at some of their pictures on Old Number One Customs of these bathrooms and kitchens, man. It's unbelievable. I mean,
I was looking at that yesterday too on their Instagram.
To say that you can get that, they can come in and get that done in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
So get that old 1970 something tile and crap out of your house and get this new renovated, beautiful kitchen and bathroom installed by Old Number One Customs. So, all right, Faith, a lot of great things here that we were able to cover. We appreciate everybody that comments each and every day. Again, continue to spread the word if you enjoy our content, and we're glad that a lot of you do. We love the comments, positive and negative. We'll take them all. We're not beyond criticism ourselves. We don't know everything, just almost everything. So we'll take some criticism every once in a while. But again, we do really appreciate all of you that tune in each and every day. Don't forget that the noon show will be on with Jim and Andy today at noon. Obviously, the noon show at noon. So don't ever forget that as well. And then Faith, you'll be on the road. You'll be coming to us on the road from enemy territory tomorrow.
I will be. So everybody, just bear with me here. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
But at least it's not next weekend.
True.
Would be worse.
It would be worse. So
whatever.
Yep.
But
You're gonna be over there. So we'll be keeping our fingers crossed for you. Don't get anything that rubs off on you over there. Any cooties or anything.
I can't.
Anyway, we'll have a safe drive and trip over there to Oxford, Mississippi. And we will see you in the morning as well. But again, thanks to everybody. Thanks to all our partners. We couldn't do it without you guys. Again, remember, tune in at lunch today. Jim and Andy will have more on the Auburn Blitz TV show.
Everybody have the best day ever.
And a big old
War Eagle.